Welcome to Design Space. This is the web-based program for the Cricut line. This allows you to utilize and make projects utilizing your Cricut. Now, what you're going to find here is you're going to find this scrolling bar here at the top that brings you through a couple of options. It gives you a couple of projects, or you can shop through here. You can get discounts. Basically what it is their ads. Now, as you scroll down, you're going to find you have projects. The first row that you find are My Projects. You'll have ready to make, top video tutorials. So if you need to find how to do things, you can actually go through here as well. Cards, flowers, graduation, home decor, and several more that you can see here. So they do have ideas for making things. You can also scroll through the community, and this is actually pretty nice because this is items made by people at home, not necessarily by Cricut designers. So if you go ahead and click View All here, you'll be able to drop right into the projects community and see all the items that other people have made utilizing the Cricut items found online, or importing their own, things of that nature. So let's go back home here. Now, again, you're going to find My Projects here. You can click New, and this will allow you to start a new project on an empty canvas. Okay. You can also click All, and this will bring all the projects that you have saved for yourself up to the front. And as you can see here, I have several projects, and I've even added pictures. And one way of doing this is once you save, you can come in here and you see these three little buttons. Click on Edit. You can add in a photo here, which I don't have a photo of this particular project, but you can add it and it will post it for you. You are required to have a project name and a description in order to save that photo. They even have a photos tips. If you want to make it visible to others, or maybe you don't want to share this with others in the community, you can click that off. So this is the My Projects. Now, from home, you can view My Profile. And from here, you will see that there are all the projects that you've taken pictures with. And here you are. From the top bar, you can also click on My Projects, and that will drop you right into your projects, or click New Projects if you're not on the home page. Now, on the menu bar, you will also find a new machine setup, and that allows you to connect a new machine to your profile. Calibration, which centers the cutting knife and the rotary knife, so that way you get a nice clean cut as far as the print and cut is concerned. You can even manage custom materials. As you can see, you are required to have your machine on in order to connect. Once it connects, it pops up a list of items and materials that you can use for cutting. Now, these custom materials can also be managed within the cutting platform. We'll get to that once we get there. But as you can see, they have several different custom materials that you can find, and this is the pressure point. This is the cutting pressure the blade applies during the cutting process. Here is If you would like to have multiple cuts, a single cut, it does depend. You can even add the blade type. So towards the bottom, there is an add custom material, but the list is quite extensive here, as you can see. And here is the add new material. So you can name the new material, and I can put in a 0.7 Mylar. Now typically it starts off at 175, which is the standard pressure, but I'm going to bring this up to about 200. I wanted to make 2 times the cut, and rather than the fine point, I can use a deep point blade, since this particular material is slightly thick. So as you can see, it reset it, so I do want it to come up more and apply more pressure. You can click save, and now you have your custom material here. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to click on a new project, and it drops me here into my canvas. As you'll see, there are several options. There's a template, and this allows you to create a template of what you want to work on. Let's say we do half circle banners. The canvas will now change to allow you to add in half circle banners. So you get an idea of just how big your workspace is. You can also turn that off if you do not wish to have them. You can also select from here the types that you would like, and it will group them together. There are also projects from here directly that you can find. Maybe you have something that you had in mind already and you want to figure out which category it's in. You can search through here and the likes. The first one that pops up are my favorites and my projects. And as you can see here, you can favorite each of these and then they will pop up as you go. Usually these are the ones that are created directly by Cricut designers. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of it. Here are your images. What it does, it populates the items that are set up for use, and these switch and alternate at the very beginning. You'll see that there, since it was Autism Month, we have this here, graduation, and those that you might find useful for current events or items, or even new projects. Okay. So at the top you will find categories. Maybe you're looking to have wildlife, or maybe it's Christmas, Easter. You can search in that way. You can also search by cartridges, and as you can see here, you have all the cartridges that are available on Design Space. This little A indicates that you have an Access account, which is a monthly subscription, and all of these will be included in your subscription. But then you'll come across several that are not included, and you can purchase individually, and you can purchase the cartridge here. As you can see, once you click on the item, you can click on buy images, and it will allow you to buy all the images directly here as an e-file versus having a physical cartridge. The other search is maybe you're looking for something in particular. You can utilize the search bar to find what you're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and type in heart, and here you have all the items that are associated with heart, and this is based off of the cartridges. Maybe you just want the images, and you just want images that show hearts. In here you have all the items that pull showing hearts. There's also a filter, and this allows you to pull in, maybe you don't want every image that's available out there. You only want images that you've brought in or considered your images, which are part of the Cricut access that I currently have, and any images that I have uploaded plus free. Maybe I just want my images that I've uploaded and created myself and brought in. Anything that I've purchased, and here you'll see that it says purchased. This is the button for text. This is for adding text, and with Cricut Design Space, it will use whatever is on your laptop or your computer. Here is the drop down for the fonts, which you can see have a number, and you'll notice here I have quite a few that are my own. As you can see here, there's also the ones that are included with your access, and there are other ones that will show a purchase price. So now that I've selected the font that I want, I'll add my text here, and here it has brought in my text. Now there are multiple types of text. There are cuttables, there's also the line fonts, but you can also do this by clicking draw. Maybe you want to do a score, and it will take the score tool and go around that, and that's kind of neat if you're doing a particular project that has fonts and you want the font to be placed in a very particular place based off of what you've created. You can actually attach this as a score line, and it will score out where you have indicated you want it to sit. And then this way you have a reference once you've cut your project where to put that font. Now, as you can see with some fonts here, the letters are spaced out. There are ways to fix that, and we will go through that as we go along. Okay, this will help you, and I believe I'm going to go ahead and make a separate video for that so that you know how to work with the font and how to make them smaller. You also get free images. Now, the really neat thing about this is every particular object is made and based off of images or shapes. These particular shapes are the basis of what you want to make in any craft. So you can make your own based off of these. Usually I like bringing in or making my own card base. So I will take the item and resize it. 4.25 and unlock that. 5.5. So as you can see, you get free shapes. You can also upload, and that's that image here. As you can see, I have several items which I have uploaded. From here, you can view all your images. So these are all items which I have uploaded myself into the system based off of a purchase. They're PDF, they're SVG files, they're JPG, depending on what we're using. They also allow for DXF, which are the actual cutting lines themselves, which depending on what type of program you have, you can make yourself. Now, here is one of the neat things, okay? You can upload your own image here or a pattern. So as we go through, you're going to see where these patterns kind of come in. When you click upload, you can browse. And if you're anything like me, I like purchasing digital paper packs. So I do have my own. And here, let's say I want to import that image. Click open. And now that has come into my library, and this is mine. For this tutorial, I'm gonna go ahead and hit cancel. And you can do the same thing with your uploads. Maybe you want to bring in something that you've created or that you've purchased. I can also utilize this particular image, and I'll tell you how I utilize these digital paper packs, because sometimes the Cricut Design Space will compress that particular pattern and make it really very tiny to use, versus pulling in this image and cutting, slicing that image out. But that's a little bit more advanced, and we'll get to that soon. So as you can see here, this is a blank canvas, and here you will see that it does come with measurement increments. You can, if you want to have that visible, you want the grids visible or not, that is up to you. You can come down to settings, and you'll be able to utilize either a full grid, a partial grid. Maybe you don't want to have those, as you can see, the lines disappeared in the background there for the 1/4 inch. Or maybe you don't want a grid. You want the canvas to actually be blank, which is useful in some sense. You don't have to have the grid, it's up to you. You can also indicate the type of units you want, inches or centimeters. So depending on where you live, you'll want to change that. Okay. So let's say, as we were discussing, I'm going to pull in a shape here, make a heart. We're going to go over the top bar on these shapes. Now this top bar doesn't just come in for the shapes. If I click an image and let's say I'm going to select this one here, insert. Okay. So this bar will be accessible at the top for any of my images that are on the mat, whether that be a shape or an imported image from this table here or this tab there. It will pop open. Now let me go ahead and show you what this does. Once you bring an image onto the mat, you'll notice that there is a layers bar. So what that does is it helps to keep track of your items, whatever you've brought in. And it's highlighted in gray when it's the item selected. You can select from here, or you can just click on the item itself. Sometimes it gets a little bit more difficult when the item is small, so it's easier to select from the layers tab. Okay. So going over this particular bar, you have a undo and redo. So I'm going to resize my image. I can undo it or I can redo it. Undo it, redo it. Now it gives you a line type. Do you want to cut it, you want to draw, or you want to score? Now there is a difference. Cut is it's going to be cut out of paper. Draw will allow you to utilize your pens and markers, and it will draw the outline, or it will score it, and it will score it onto your paper with no cutting involved. And that will be utilizing the score tool, either the rotary or the pen. Now, I know you've heard me mention the print and cut feature. The way that this works is currently this is set with a gray background. That's how this initially comes in, or whatever selected by the creators of the images that you bring in. You can change that here. Maybe you don't want it to be gray, maybe you want it to be pink. There's also an advanced drop down, and if you know the hex code, you can select the hex code here. And as you can see, it has selected a much brighter pink for me, since I already knew that hex code for my own business that I have and or my logo. And here you have a sliding bar which brings you down the spectrum of colors. Oops. Okay. You can also choose the tone based off of this particular color of whether you want it darker, you want it lighter. And let me kind of pull this out so you can see it here. So if you want it darker, maybe much darker, closer to black or gray with a tint of pink. So it really does depend on what you want. Okay. Now, this is called a fill. Right now it has no fill. So it's going to cut out of paper. Just basic, this is what you're saying your paper is going to be. Or maybe you want this particular color because you don't have that particular paper color. And this is the one that you want. You can go to print, and now this will print out on a piece of paper and cut. That it's set to print. But as you can see, the cut has now gone blank. It's going to select the fill type as a print. If you come here, you can change the particular color. As you can see, it does the same thing as your cut coloring. Now, from this drop down, you can do a pattern. And this is where the upload pattern kind of helps. While Design Space does have its own pattern paper, I also like utilizing my own. I create my own, or anything that I might like, and bring it in. So maybe I want my heart to have this cute little pattern here. I can do that. Simply select pattern and it will populate. It may take a minute, but it'll get there. Just give it time. And here you see, I'm going to get rid of that box. Here you see, this is my heart with the pattern. But as you can see, this pattern is set for a width of 6 inches, give or take. Okay, so depending on how big I want it is where how it's gonna come across. You can edit the pattern here. You can scale it if you want it bigger. Maybe you want it smaller. You want it to scale or flip. As you can see here, it has reduced the size. Maybe I want it a little bit bigger. And there you go. So this was nice. This was a nice addition to this particular pattern insert because it did not have it before. And it did make it a little bit more difficult. Here you can, whether you want to center it, maybe move it over a little bit, rotate it 90 degrees, or you want to flip it, maybe you want it in the other direction, maybe you want it upside down. So it really does depend on you and what you would like to see and how you want it to be on this particular paper. So there's quite a bit of editing power that you have with this at this point. Okay. Now, since we have this item selected, you can click deselect or select all here. Under the edit, you have a cut and copy. So maybe you want to remove that images. Maybe you want to copy and then you want to paste. And here it has created a second one. Or maybe I want to get rid of that and just cut. The align feature allows you to center your objects or move your objects based off of where you have it. So that is selecting 2 objects. You can center align, which is the probability that you might use the most. And as you can see, it's centered from top and bottom. Maybe you want to left align it, center it horizontally, even though maybe it's towards the top here, forgive me. Right align it, top. Maybe you want to go back to the middle or bottom. So it really does depend on what you want to do. You have a lot of options here, and that helps. Maybe you want this circle to be arranged towards the back, so you can actually send to back, or maybe you have multiple images and you want this particular triangle just to move backwards one step. And as you can see all of these items changing here and where their position is based off of the arrangement. So this heart is at the very top. This is our second, this is our third. And this helps quite a bit. Here you have a flip vertical, let me utilize the heart here. You can flip vertically, horizontally, depending on what you want to do here. So let me just undo that. You can also modify the size. Now here is the width and the height. And then you'll notice that there is a lock button. Right now I've clicked it and so it's unlocked. You click again and it will be locked. You can also do the same thing from here. Once you've selected the item, you can unlock the position so it will not be a 1-to-1 ratio when you move it. Now, as you can see, it will retain its ratio when I resize it here. And the same thing will go if I were to resize it here and make it 5. You'll see that the other portion went up a smidgen. So, it stayed within ratio. If I were to unlock this, I can now move my item quite differently. And the same thing goes here. Maybe I want to make this a little bit smaller, and the width has now remained or changed to 2, but the height has remained. So that allows you to unlock it. You have 2 rotate options. You have one here in the corner, or you have one here which allows a very specific rotation. So maybe you want to do it 45 degrees. Okay. Now, you can also, as you can see, click on the item, move it around the canvas, but you also have the option of positioning this here. Maybe I want this at the 0x. So X, Y. Just kind of, if you remember your math, you'd find that. Maybe I want this at the very top of my canvas, and so I'm going to set that to 0 and it'll push it to the top, but yet it's more towards the 1 inch. And this here indicates the distance in inches, because that's what I have it set to. Okay. Now, I'm going to add in a couple more shapes here. And I'm going to show you exactly what these do. Pick a different pattern just to make it a little bit more darker, as it were. Okay, that'll work. And as you can see, depending on your rotation at the time, the fill will fill in based on your vertical setup. Now, currently my heart is at the bottom. I'm gonna minimize this. Maybe I want to have a cutout. So I'm going to select both items. Now I did shift and then clicked on one item, shift, selected the other item. Or you can come to the layer bar here and select the first item, shift, and then select the next item. Now that we've selected, you will now see quite a few number of items have opened up and highlighted. Oops. So the first item is group. Group will keep these two items together. It doesn't mean that it's going to cut out and stay. Let's say, for instance, you have this one as a cut. Maybe you want it to be a score line or a draw line. It does not mean that it's going to draw here. It's just going to draw in an image on a piece of paper, okay? Because it's grouped. It just kind of, for editing purposes on the canvas, means that you will be able to retain the ratio of both items together and move them about together. If you wish to do something and you want them to be attached, and it will write on that heart right where you set it. Okay, I'm going to ungroup this. I'm going to go through and highlight my items and click attach. And what that has done, it has attached that triangle right on that heart, and that's when it prints. It will print, cut, and then write that triangle right on that spot that we have selected here. Okay. You can also detach from there. Now, maybe I want to duplicate this and move it over. Maybe I made an error. I can delete that there. I'm gonna change this to a cut and highlight my heart. I am now able to see another set of items down here. You can slice, and basically what that will do is it will cut out that triangle from that piece of heart, and you'll see the heart with the missing triangle, the triangle that got cut out, and your original triangle. So now you will have multiple items. Okay, I've reset that and did an undo. I'm gonna remove this. This heart is about 5 inches wide, so I'm going to make a teardrop. And in order to do that, I need a heart and a circle. So my heart is 5 inches wide. I will take my circle and make it 5 inches wide as well. I will align them centered. Perfect. Make sure they're selected. Oops. And now I'm giving the option to weld, and that will make both pieces one. Now I have my teardrop, and it has become one unified piece. As you can see, my heart no longer exists. Let's say I bring in an image and it has multiple layers. Let's select this. Now, this particular image, if you notice here, has the hello in black. It has dark blue lines cut out, the light massive bubble, the outline in black. Okay. Now, let's say maybe I don't want that outline. I can hide that here, so I don't have to delete it. But you can delete that from the project if you don't want it there, or maybe you just want to be able to not see it so that it doesn't cut. Maybe you have to go back and forth. You do have the option of deleting that. click undo there. But let's say I want this particular item that I found on the Design Space store, and I want to set it as a print and cut. I'm going to take my image that's highlighted and click flatten. Now it will print as a JPEG or a PNG. This will be flat. Print, and then it will cut around the whole entire image. Because as you can see, it now has the cut and print. If I were to change these, you'll also note that it goes to a draw and it tells you what it's doing. Aside from the demarcations on the screen, you can see what it says there. Okay. Now, you're gonna wanna save, and from here, you're gonna click save on your item. You can make it public, which will allow you to also share. Once you have that picture up, you can actually share to Pinterest or Facebook as well. And I'll show you how to do that. Let's go to newbie. There is also a color sync. Maybe you want certain colors to be cut off on the same type of paper for you. You come to the top under layers, you have the color sync. You can move your item, and now they are the same color. Again, come to your item, move it, and it will come to the same color. You click on make, and now it's ready to cut. So dependent on what you're making, okay, you have the number of copies that you want it to do. Let's say I want to have it cut 5 times. Instead of on the mat making a copy, you create one project and then do the number of project copies that you want from here. Otherwise, anytime you load your program or you load your project, it will take forever to load because it's a lot of images. You're going to pick your material size here, however big you have it. Okay. You can mirror, and this particular mirror is for your iron-on. Okay. Let's say I'm ready to cut. I can click continue. And as you can see, it's connecting to my machine, which is ready to go. You can first select the type of material. There's a couple of options that usually pop up. There's popular, there's my favorites, which I myself have selected and which is what's populating here, but initially it will come to popular. You can do browse materials, and from here you can do favorites, you can do all materials. There's a category, maybe you want an iron-on. I've done everyday mesh. Here is my particular iron-on. This is the basic iron-on that I have and I've created. So again, as we indicated in the beginning, there is the option here to be able to add in your material settings or create a new material. You would click material settings. From here, you're able to edit any particular one that you want. Scroll to the very bottom, and here you have your add new material. So this allows you to really come through and change and modify the pressure, the number of cuts, and the type of blade you're going to be using. Let's say on this one, I'm going to use a light cardstock. This will now tell you what you need. If there is, it says no tool required for clamp A. Depending on whether you have a score line or a draw line, this will be filled in, you will be told what you need to utilize. But it's indicating you have a fine point blade. You're going to go in and load your mat with your material. Once you've loaded, you can go and press the go button, which is the little Cricut symbol here flashing on your maker, or your Cricut, I'm sorry. And there's also this fast mode, which allows it to cut a little bit faster. Now this is not good if you have a lot of fine detail. You want the machine to take its time. And usually with that, I would reduce the pressure, which you can do here. A little bit less, a little bit more, if you already know just how much pressure it's using. And have it do a multiple cut. You can do that by, once the cut is finished, rather than removing your mat, just click the go button again and it will cut again. I do hope that this has helped you understand how to move about in Design Space. And as you get more acclimated to the system and learning how to do different projects, your level of excellence utilizing this program will improve, and you'll be able to find, hopefully, I'll be able to make a couple more videos here to show you different projects and how the machine works. Thank you for watching Heartcraftpaper. You can visit us on our website at www.heartcraftpaper.com. For more videos and tutorials like these, don't forget to subscribe.